What does sencha tea taste like? This is the most common question we get asked about sencha, the most popular type of tea in Japan. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into what does sencha tea taste like and what types of flavors you may notice in the sencha taste. We'll also take a look at how distinct phases in the production process can lead to the differences in the taste of sencha tea. Before we get started, it would really mean a lot to us if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned for future tea videos. We have hundreds of videos on all sorts of topics related to Japanese green tea, but for this episode we're going to focus on sencha specifically. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, before we discuss what does sencha tea taste like, let's first start by defining sencha tea. Sencha is the most common type of green tea consumed in Japan, but it's a very broad category, as we will discuss later. It generally refers to tea leaves that have been steamed, rolled, and dried. You may notice the dried leaves of the sencha tea take on these thin needle shapes. This is meant to lock in the sencha taste until it's infused into water. Once the leaves are submerged into water, they will begin to gradually expand and release their flavor into the tea. The taste of sencha tea is difficult to describe, but we will try our best. Because the leaves are steamed after harvest, you may notice tasting notes of sweet corn, edamame, and baby spinach in the tea. You may also notice some dryness or astringency in certain sencha teas. This can be experienced as a citrusy lemon or grapefruit flavor. You may even notice a starchy cereal or rice note with some of the teas, which can be among the most challenging to describe. How does the production process affect the taste of sencha? To fully understand the taste of sencha tea, you have to first understand the production process of Japanese green teas. There are different production methods that make these green teas different from Chinese green teas, and we'll cover them shortly here. Some sencha teas are shaded prior to the harvest, which can actually make the sencha taste sweeter and more savory. When the tea plant is exposed to sunlight, it will begin to convert its theanine into catechins as a protection against the UV light. These catechins are responsible for the bitter sencha taste, so if a farmer wants to produce a sweeter tea, they will shade the tea plants for days before the harvest. By cutting the tea plant off from sunlight, the farmer is able to reduce the catechins in the tea and maximize the sweet and savory theanine. The leaves used to make the tea will also impact the taste of the sencha. For most sencha teas, the farmer will use the youngest sprouts of the tea plant. These tend to be the sweetest and smoothest in flavor, and they have the highest concentration of nutrients. Another factor that makes Japanese green tea unique from Chinese green tea is that the leaves are steamed after the harvest. This tends to lock in more of the fresh, steamed vegetable characteristics. The pan-firing method common for Chinese green teas would impart more of this nutty or roasted flavor onto the leaves, but you don't see that so much in the sencha tasting notes. Long shaded sencha teas like kabusecha can be incredibly sweet and smooth. These teas are shaded for between 10 to 20 days, which can really reduce a lot of their bitterness. If you're sensitive to these drier or more bitter flavors, this may be a good tea to start with. While most teas are steamed for between 40 to 80 seconds, fukumushi sencha teas are steamed for longer. During the longer steaming process, the tea leaves are broken down, allowing more of them to flow into the cup, creating a vibrant green color and a rich vegetal flavor. The deep steaming process also renders the tea smoother and in some cases fruitier. When it comes to describing the sencha tea tasting notes, you can first focus on the physical sensation of the tea. Does it dry out your palate or is it slightly sweet? As you become more experienced, you can start to discuss where on the tongue you notice the flavors, the top, the back, or the sides. The more physical cues will be the first thing you notice when you sip the tea. Next, you can focus on the finish of the tea. Does it leave you with a long, mouth-watering astringency, or is the finish relatively short? In general, you tend to want a tea that has a longer finish to it. Finally, you can look for some of the more complex tasting notes. Start off broad like steamed vegetable, and then narrow it down to something like baby spinach or artichoke. There may be more than just a few, so try to name as many as you can. A few categories to choose from are floral, nutty, marine, earthy, and fruity. Is sencha tea supposed to taste bad? Some people say that sencha tea tastes bad or that it's too bitter, and there may be a few things you can do to fix this. If you're using too high of a water temperature, you will extract more bitterness from the tea, and it will end up with a very unpleasant flavor. So if you're wondering why your sencha tastes off a bit, you may want to follow this brewing guide. We recommend using a temperature of 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit and a brewing time of 1 minute. If you brew the tea too hot or for too long, you will end up with a more bitter sencha taste. If your sencha tea tastes bitter even with the proper brewing, it may be time to get a new one. We recommend going for a sweeter sencha like the Sencha Henta Saimidori. During our travels, we've met with dozens of farmers and sampled hundreds of different sencha teas, all with their own unique tastes. We've ultimately decided on a handful of our favorites, and we're so happy to share them with all of you. These teas are all coming from different regions, tea farms, cultivars, and production styles. If you're looking for a good place to start, we recommend the Fukumushi Yamaga, a delicious deep steam sencha from Shizuoka with a powerful fruity and steamed vegetable flavor. It also works great as a cold brew. When you order tea from us, you're not only helping to support this channel, you're also helping us to support the many talented farmers we work with all around Japan. We hope that by sharing these farmers' stories and their teas with people all around the world, we can help to transition the tea industry into a more positive, sustainable direction. Thank you so much for watching this video on the taste of sencha tea. We really hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. But until then, we'll see you next time.